Hello and welcome to Charred Axle Winter Wars 2023 and the first event in this year's calendar, and it's Impakt versus Orchid Fire. Today's event will be taking place on the desert world of Einash and the game mode will be Charred Axle, so let's get right into it. Both rigs roll off to see who moves into the arena first, adding their result of the 2 dice that they roll to their speed value. Both rigs have a speed value of 20, and it looks like Impakt has won the roll. So Impakt will get to move their rig into the arena first, measuring from the bottom right the arena edge, You'll see in the top right corner a few stats for the rigs. So we have armor, which is how much damage a rig can sustain before it becomes charred. Damage, which is the amount of damage they have already sustained throughout the event. And then momentum. Momentum is a resource in Charred Axle. You gain 1 momentum for every 5 centimeters that you move your rig. And you can spend momentum by doing various maneuvers such as turning, aimed shots to help you hit your target better, and other things that may happen throughout the game. Orchid is now moving into the arena. She will also move her full 20 centimeters and so gaining 4 momentum. It looks like she's taking cover in case Impakt gets the first turn. Turns are decided using a token system. You draw a token, which is off screen, and if your number shows up, you take your turn. We need to recharge the primer pads first, and number 2 will be charged. I'll say Orchid is going to get the first turn. A little bit about primer pads, for those of you who don't know. They will recharge. One will randomly recharge when there's no current primer tokens on the field. And primer can be used to power up your weapons or increase the defensive capabilities of a resistance field shield. But we don't have any of those on the rigs today, but it's only weaponry. So Orchid's gone straight in and will be collecting that primer token. And she will be using it immediately to activate supersonic munitions, which will stop Impakt from modifying their evasion attempts. They roll 3 evasion attempts, reducing their momentum by 3, but unfortunately, none of them are a 4. You need a 4 on at least one of your evasion attempts to successfully pass, and they failed, so they will take 1 damage. Orchid Fire will score 1 point for the damage and 1 point for attacking. And now we roll Impakt Power. This is to see if the attack was a critical impact. The result must be higher than your target's armor. In this case, after reductions, it's not higher than Impakt's armor of 12. Impakt is incredibly resilient against energy weapons, so this is a bad matchup for Orchid Fire. And that, I believe, is the end of Orchid Fire's turn. There are no primer pads charged, so we're going to have to see which one recharges. If it's a 4, all of the pads will recharge, and it is a 4. We apologise for the dice going outside of the screen. This will be fixed for the next event. Sorry about that. All of the pads will charge on a 4, but unless a rig is touching one currently, and Orchid Fire is going to take 1 point of damage as that primer energy is diverted into their rig. That was bad luck for Orchid Fire. Okay, now Impakt is going to take their turn. Impakt is armed with a slam ram, which means they can ram the target, another rig, and deal damage to it. Impakt is going to utilize a maneuver called reposition, which allows you to reverse your rig backwards up to 5 centimeters and turn it, not necessarily in that order. And this allows Impakt to get exactly 20 centimeters away, maximizing the power that their slam ram will collide with Orchid Fire. So that's exactly 20, and they're going to go forward 20, gaining 4 momentum, but because they collided, they will lose 1 momentum because of the collision, and also Orchid Fire will lose 1 momentum. A slam ram doesn't deal straight damage, it can only deal damage via its impact power roll, and you get one impact power dice for every 5 centimeters that you move, plus one default dice, and that was a 16, so that's going to deal 1 point of damage to Orchid Fire. So Impakt has finally scored a point on the board, and now going to attack with their Reduction Lance laser weapon. But Orchid will use evasive maneuvers, meaning they can add 1 to their evasion dice roll, which means they only need a 3 on one of these dice to successfully evade it. Can she do it? And yes, there we go. 2 of them pass. So that attack is going to go wide and just bury itself into the desert floor. Okay, so now I believe it's Orchid Fire's turn. And while she moves a little bit on favour points in Charred Axle, to win you must score the highest amount of favour points throughout the event. And in the bottom right of your screen you can see the favour point tracker. It's a little tally system, a 5-bar tally, or a 5-bar gate if you will. In Charred Axle you get 1 point for attacking with a weapon during your turn, 1 point for every point of damage you do, and 1 point if you evade an attack. So Orchid gained 1 for evading that attack, and Impakt got 1 for attacking, being aggressive. Aggression, damage, and evasion are all rewarded in Charred Axle game mode. In this Charred Axle game mode. All right, it looks like Orchid's trying to do a maneuver to get behind Impakt, but I assume she will want to stay close. The best way to counter a slam ram is to stay close so that they can't build up those impact power dice. Notice, even though Orchid Fire has moved her full 20, she's only got 2 momentum, and that's because she used momentum to turn. Oh, and now she's making aim shots at Impakt. So she's reduced her momentum by another 2, which will force Impakt to re-roll all of their successful evasion attempts, but there were none, so the attack is going to hit, dealing 1 point of damage. Orchids will score 2 points, 1 for the damage, 1 for attacking, and now impact power roll. The Convergence Beam Cannon on Orchid is one of the biggest weapons in the game, and it gets 6 impact power dice. That's an 18 after reductions, 14, which is a successful critical impact. That means Orchid scores 1 more point and Impakt suffers an additional point of damage. Impakt is incredibly tanky. They have a reinforced chassis which reduces all incoming impact power by 1, but then they also have the polarized matter webbing which reduces energy weapon impact power by 3. So this is quite a bad matchup for Orchid Fire, even though she does have quite a massive weapon. It looks to me that Impakt is slightly out of Slam Ram range, which means Orchid is going to be safe this turn. Yes, unfortunately, however, Orchid has left themselves with 0 momentum, meaning they cannot attempt to evade the incoming attack from Impakt's Reduction Lance, and there we are. An automatic hit, scoring 2 points for Impakt. And here's the impact power roll, and that result is a 11, which is higher than Orchid's armor, and that is a critical impact, an additional point of damage dealt to Orchid Fire. And that is the end of round 1. At the end of each round, we roll on a phenomena table for the current planet being played on. This is Inash, and a random event will occur. And it's a 4. This is bad news for Orchid Fire. This is the Terror Worm. This couldn't have gone any worse for Orchid. Oh dear, the Terror Worm will attack the closest target to it. Let's go down to the cast cam on our broadcast drones on the arena floor. Just look at the size of that monstrosity. It's going to tear into Orchid so badly. Orchid cannot attempt to evade this attack because she has 0 momentum, which is 1 automatic damage. And as we zoom out, we're going to see the impact power roll for this monstrous creature. And it's a 6 dice, and the Terror Worm has an effect called Point Blank. If it's within 5 centimeters, it gets to add 2 to its roll, and that is a 12 plus 2, meaning 14. And that's an additional point of damage via the critical impact from the Terror Worm on Orchid Fire. And the Terror Worm is so big, its attacks are considered heavy variants of a weapon, which deals an additional point of damage. That's 3 points of damage dealt to Orchid Fire in one turn. She's really on the ropes now. That was so unfortunate. But luckily, she gets the first turn in round 2. She's going to do a reposition maneuver to turn for free. Zooming over to that primer. Let's see what she does with it. If you attack the Terror Worm, your attacks automatically hit, but it has a malefic retort, meaning if you score a critical impact, it will move towards you and attack you. So it's probably best she doesn't do that. And she's going to use aim shots and her supersonic munitions on her weapon via the primer to attack Impakt. Aim shots are going to cause Impakt to re-roll all their successful attempts. And Impakt can't modify these because supersonic munitions stops any modifications or specialities being used. Oh, there's 2 successes for Impakt for 2 evasion attempts successful, but he has to re-roll them and they are a fail. Orchid Fire scores a hit against Impakt, dealing 1 point of damage and scoring another point. She's running away with the favour. Let's see if she can score a critical impact here against this tough nut. And that is going to be 17 minus 4, total 13. That is a success. Again, we apologise for the dice going off the screen. That will be fixed for the next event in the series. And that's a successful critical impact for Orchid. Orchid is really running away with the score here. What can Impakt do to answer to this? Orchid has got 7 damage, taken 7 damage. So technically, Impakt can win it here if they're successful in all of their rolls. And they are going to make an reposition maneuver to get to that 20 centimeter sweet spot from their target. Yep, there we go. Now they are exactly 20 centimeters away. And they're going to go full throttle, straight forward, slamming into Orchid. Impakt gains 4 momentum but loses 1 because of the collision, and Orchid Fire loses 1 momentum, bringing her to 0. She is a sitting duck again. Let's see if that impact power from the slam ram can deal. It needs higher than a 9. And that's a 13. That's it. 1 point of damage dealt to Orchid Fire, and Impakt scores in round 2. Okay, now the reduction lance. It's going to automatically hit, dealing 1 point of damage. That's unfortunate. But Orchid Fire is going to activate her decoy flare. Decoy flares obscure your rig, allowing you to roll 1 evasion attempt and re-roll a single failure. Can they do it? No. The attack hits. Unlucky Orchid Fire. Okay, if Impakt can roll their impact power to be higher than the armor of Orchid Fire, they're going to win this event. They need a 9 or higher on 4 dice. And here we go. That's it, done. 13. And Orchid Fire has no defenses against that critical impact. And she is charred. Wow, that Terror Worm really dealing some damage. That was Orchid Fire's downfall here. Don't leave yourself with 0 momentum. You are a sitting duck. Let's see if the other competitors can learn a lesson from Orchid Fire's mishap. Okay, the total favour for Orchid Fire is 9. If she can keep her favour points higher than the other 2 losers in this tournament, she will automatically win a place in the semi-finals against the winner of Shimmer and Ulshio. But if somebody can score higher than her, then she is out. But for now, she still has a chance. What an event. That Terror Worm. Devastating. Thank you all so much for watching this first episode of Charred Axle Winter Wars 2023, and we'll see you next time in the arena. If you'd like to play Charred Axle, head over to charredaxle.com and download the rules for free, or you could buy yourself a paperback version from the Charred Axle store. The Charred Axle store also contains all of the miniatures and tokens you will need to play your first game of Charred Axle.